All right, guys, we are talking literal equations today. So we're going to manipulate, we're going to make these equations tell us what we need. They're not the boss of us, we are the boss of them. Here we go. Force equals mass times acceleration. Yeah, it's a science formula. We're going to work with it. So we want to solve for A. This is what you need to know. You need to know, big picture, how did I construct the equation I'm looking at? Because if I know how to construct it, I'm going to just inverse operation to deconstruct it and solve for my variable, right? So here's what I mean. We start with A, and I go and I look and I say, hey, what did I do to A? What operations are attached to it? Well, right here, anytime you see letters right next to each other, that's multiplication. Cool. So I did times M. A times M gives me MA. Sweet. That's all I did. I love single step ones, right? Because now I'm just going to reverse and undo it with an inverse operation. So if I multiply times M, that means to undo it, I'm going to divide by M. That's it. Okay, so let's go do it in our solve spot. So I'm going to divide by M both sides to keep the balance. So I'm going to F divided by M equals A. Because if I go back up here, M divided by M gives me 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. So I have F divided by M equals A. Done. That wasn't painful. Let's do it again. A equals C divided by B. We're going to solve for C. Okay, so I go and I look at my equation. Where is what I need? So that's what I start with. And I ask myself, okay, what operations are attached to it? What have I done to get the equation? I see, hey, I have this fraction here. Oh, that's division. So I know right away I divided by B. That's all I did to C. Okay, I love single steps, guys. Single step. Don't overcomplicate it. If I divided by B to go in reverse, to undo it, I would multiply by B. All right, so let's go solve. Times B, keep the balance on the other side. B times A equals, on the right, B divided by B is 1, so I'm left with positive 1C. So C equals A times B. Awesome, that's it. Okay, let's keep going. Don't sweat it, don't overthink it. Here we go. A equals C divided by B. Solve for B this time. Okay, so something different happens when we have it in the denominator. We need to get out of the denominator. So when you see that what you're trying to solve for is in the denominator, you have to get it out. You got to know how to do that. And we just move things out of the denominator by multiplying by it. We're going to multiply both sides by B. That's the first thing, because then I have to know, like, well, what happens when I multiply by B? What's left to undo? So if I multiply by B, hey, this looks a lot like what we just did, guys. So I have B, A equals C. But man, I don't want C equals, I want B equals. So I look here, this is multiplication. So I'm going to undo it with division. Divide by the A, because anything divided by itself is 1. Keep the balance on the other side. So I get B equals C divided by A. Okay, so it's just a little bit of a plot twist there. We start with the denominator, we have to get out of it, we multiply. All right, let's add some more onto this. So we have Q minus RS equals T. We want to solve for R. Okay, so we start with R and we ask ourselves, how did I build? You always look multiplication, division first, then did I add anything onto that? And then did I do anything else beyond that, right? So I look at R here and I see that it's negative RS. That whole piece, that's my multiplication piece. So I know that I did times negative S, right? Because R times negative S gives me negative RS. Then I have this positive Q out here that tells me, hey, add Q. It's like I'm telling someone how to build that equation. Hey, you start with R times negative S and then add a Q. And that's how they would write that equation. Okay, that's all that I did to it. So now we undo. So there's a little bit more now. That's okay, don't freak out. You undo addition with subtraction, so we're going to subtract q. And you undo multiplication. Hey, we've been doing this with division, so we're going to divide by negative s. And we're undoing it in the reverse of how we created it. So we multiplied, then added, so we're going to subtract, then divide. So let's go do it. I'm going to subtract q from both sides. That should give you a zero pair, just like irregular equations. So we have negative rs equals, don't freak out on this side, they're not like terms. Read it just as it looks on the screen. Don't do anything funky. It says t minus q, not t times negative q, not tq negative, not funky weird things. Just do what it says. Okay, so we subtracted. Now we divide by negative s. Divide the whole right side by negative s. So we're going to get negative divided by negative is positive, s divided by s is 1, so we get positive 1r equals t minus q divided by negative s. Feeling all right? It's not that bad. You got to know how you build an equation, because then it's just taking it apart in reverse. Let's do another one. All right, we got 4x minus 8y equals 16. Again, solving for y, so I start with y and I see how did I build? Look, multiplication, division first, then adding and subtracting. All right, so I look at everything attached. It's negative 8y, so that tells me, oh, I multiplied times negative 8. And then I do this. So first the multiplication, then adding or subtracting. It's positive, so I'm adding 4x. Awesome. Now we undo it. Reverse. Instead of adding, let's undo it by subtracting it. And to undo multiplication, we're going to divide by the negative 8. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Subtract first, divide second. So I'm going to subtract, zero pair it. So I end up with negative 8y equals 16 minus 4x. Just read it. Don't do funky things. They're not like terms. So I subtracted, now I divide by negative 8. Notice I tell myself the operation every time, training my brain, pay attention. All right, so I'm left with positive 1y equals 16 minus 4x divided by negative 8. But wait, I'm going to throw a little bit more at you. Always, when you have fractions, you always want to get in the habit of saying, can I simplify it? Okay, and so here's our strategy. To simplify, in case you've never done this before, you keep the denominator and just break apart the numerator. Okay, so I have 16 over negative 8, and then I have negative 4x over negative 8. And then I simplify those. Okay, 16 divided by negative 8 is negative 2. Negative 4 divided by negative 8 is positive 1/2 times x, don't lose the variable, and that is my simplified form. Okay, so yep, threw on another layer. You can pause and rewatch as much as you want. That's the beauty of videos. Let it sink in, figure out like, wait, what's going on? All right, one more, here we go. Negative 3x minus 9y equals negative 18. Solving for the y. So we start with y, we look for multiplication first, and then what are we doing? Are we adding or subtracting anything after? So I multiplied times negative 9. And this time I subtracted because it's negative. So I subtracted 3x. Cool. Reverse. Undo it, guys. Instead of subtracting, we're going to add it. And then we're going to divide by negative 9. Okay, let's do it. Add 3x to both sides, keep the balance. That zeroes out. We get negative 9y equals, I'm going to just read this exactly how it looks, negative 18 plus 3x. Okay, now it's time to divide by negative 9. Divide by negative 9, whole other side by negative 9. We have positive 1y equals negative 18 plus 3x divided by negative 9. But we just said we always want to see if we can simplify. Always, always, always. Don't stop now. Okay, so we're going to split that apart. So we have the negative 18 over negative 9 plus, then we have the 3x over negative 9. Okay, keep the denominator, break apart that numerator. Then we simplify it. Y equals negative 18 divided by negative 9 is positive 2. 3 divided by negative 9 is negative 1/3 x. It's not 9 divided by 3. Don't fall for that. Okay, that's solving literal equations. You're going to watch one more video that throws one more twist in, but you got this. Don't overcomplicate it. Figure out, what did I create? And then undo it. What did I do to create? How do I undo it?